I think the interesting thing was that when I was going through treatment, I had the hard work, but you had the hard job. Because I just had to show up. You know, you're the one that had to get me there. And, you know, you really were my biggest support. You were there with me every single moment of every day. You took me to all of my appointments. You sat with me and held my hand. You weren't afraid when I was terrified. And so you made it okay for me to have bad days and to have good days too. But you were the one that I could always depend on and I could always lean on. And I knew that I was safe. And that was a great comfort. But I think it also helped in my healing because I knew that I was always going to be taken care of, especially when I couldn't really take care of myself.
It was for me. It was like I was, and we talked about it. There was this. I was kind of like the guard at the gate, so to speak, to make sure that at the time you needed to yourself what you needed to do for you. And sometimes that was a juggling act for me, because I can support you, but I don't want to do too much, you know, because you wouldn't want that. It's just like I've kind of got to read the landscape. But I think the thing that was important for me was kind of, I was able to be there. And you always said our cancer, and I know I told you, I never went through the treatment or anything like that, you know.
But it was our journey. It was something we did together, and that was the thing that was really important for me. Was I never felt like I was alone. I didn't feel like I was alone with you. I didn't feel like I was alone with the treatment team that we had. I never felt like, for one moment, like I was ever all alone in this process. And I think that was my biggest fear, was being alone and having to do it on my own. And I never had to do that. I know you often told me that you wish you could have done it for me.
Yeah.
But
from day one.
But you did it with me.
Yeah.
And I think that was maybe almost as important as if you'd been able to do it for me. You know, you did it with me. We did it together. There were some things I learned about you. I mean, we've known each other for a long time, and I've always known you to be a strong person, but I really discovered this level of strength that I hadn't known before. Your tenacity and determination in getting me through this process, but also getting us through the process, was empowering to me in a way. I could let go of a lot of the burden that I felt like I was carrying, and you picked it up for me. You took care of a lot of that for me. You really were strong enough for both of us. And it's not that I didn't know that you couldn't be that strong, but I saw it. I really saw it. I also saw a vulnerability that I don't know that I'd seen before. I think I saw you afraid for the first time.
I was terrified. There was times that I was terrified.
But that was okay too, because, you know, when I was most afraid, you were able to pick up for me. Mm-hmm. And there were times when I needed you to let me know that you were afraid too, mm-hmm. so that I could find some strength in that. I could be the strong one too, and help you through some of that. And you let me. That was the neat thing, was sometimes you wanted to fix things for me because you're a fixer. You're a guy, you're a fixer. But
I think, you know, and I learned so much about you that I never really knew. I think some of it was that you did like to be taken care of. I mean, you know, you're not that independent that you don't need somebody to kind of hold you up. Sometimes you wanted it, but you know, you also still had your strength. I mean, it was there. That's what I learned, that even when everything's knocking you down, you still got this strength about you. You have a gift to feel things on a different level, and a lot of people do. You know that. It's see things on a different level, and that helped me a lot too, because I, you know, in the rescuer and jump to things. You're even stepping back. You know, you're real patient with all this. I mean, it didn't seem, maybe it don't seem like that, but I mean, you were very patient with all this.
I learned, I think I found some patience I didn't know that I had. I found some strength I didn't know I had. I didn't know I could do something like this. It was hard. You know, it was really hard. I mean, it's 5 months of chemo. You found me crawling up the stairs one night because I couldn't walk. And, you know, radiation after that, and it's difficult treatment, but kind of do what you have to do sometimes.
And then, you know, I was thinking too, it's like of you mentioned treatment team, and they were, I never felt left out of it. You know, it was like we'd go up there for treatment to the oncology unit and things, and they would get your tested, weigh you in, all that kind of stuff and all like that. And then whoever we would see, they'd ask about you. They also asked about me. And that was, I think that was really, that meant a lot. It was like we were in this together, you know.
I mean, I was the patient. I was one they were treating, but you were as important in that, in those visits as I was. So they talked with both of us. They never talked to us or at us. And, you know, you were always included in the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, we really had a treatment team. That was so important to me, because I tend to be a very independent individual, and I want to make decisions and I want to make choices. So when we went in there, when we first met with Dr. Hazy, he told us what the diagnosis was, and he laid out what our options were and said, here are the different things that you can choose from. And it was funny because at that moment, what I really wanted was somebody to tell me what to do.
I remember saying that. I remember you saying that it was really strange that this is your decision, and we were saying afterwards, remember, we were saying, what do you mean? Of course we're going to do it, but no, they were real strong about, you're going to decide this.
Well, but that's the funny thing is, you know, if you have a broken arm, they put you in a cast, or if you've got you know, an illness, they're going to give you a medication for it. But here they said, here are your options. Go home and talk about it, and talk to each other. Think about what you want to do, and let us know so that we can make a treatment plan for you. And then when things changed,
I remember that.
when things changed, and we had to come up with a new treatment plan that was a little more aggressive than we were originally anticipating, it was still our choice.
Yeah.
And in the end, when I made some choices that maybe weren't what they wanted me, you know, what they were suggesting, they were still supportive, and there was never any judgment or any guilt. It was really all about what I needed, what we needed in our treatment plan.
Yeah, that's good.
So, I mean, I got support from you, and I got support from the team that we had at Allegiance, which was wonderful. We had support from the kids.
Yeah.
You know, that was always amazing. You know, and family members and friends, and it felt like this huge support system that just kept growing. And it was funny. There came a point where I realized that I felt like there were so many hands holding us up that my feet never really had to touch the ground. I felt like we were being carried along by so many people.
It's like you find out how many people are, I guess that's what, we found out how many people were going through this too. I mean, you would talk to somebody and you'd say this, oh my gosh, really, your wife? Well, my brother or somebody, and you'd find out it was, I hate to say it, but it was almost like a invisible connection that something as dastardly as cancer does.
Well, it's interesting because you find out pretty quickly that you're just not alone. Even though it gets very lonely having cancer and going through treatment, I never felt alone. It's hard to explain and describe the experience of what it's like to go through treatment and what it's like to, feel the things that you're feeling when you're going through that, but we were never really alone. There was always somebody calling, dropping off a note, sending something, letting us know they were thinking about us all the way through treatment and even afterwards. And so when we have little celebrations, when it's, the end of chemo or the end of radiation or the first good scan, and all those people who are supporting us are still supporting us.
It. Yeah.
They're still supporting us. Mm-hmm. And it was nice. It was nice to let go. I've always said, and it always sounds odd, and people think I don't know if they know what to think when I say it, but I don't regret the experience that we went through. And I work to find the blessing in having been through cancer treatment, having had cancer, because what we learned from it was so much more important. We learned what was really important. We learned about spending time with each other, making the time to spend with each other, in spending time with the kids and the family, and not worrying about a lot of the little things. Little stuff doesn't matter. And I like that we found that out about ourselves and about each other, that we can let go of those little things, that nothing, in the face of this, nothing else really matters.
No.
I think the thing that I want to say to you is I really want to thank you for being with me through this. We met a lot of people on our journey that were doing this alone. And there wasn't a moment that I wasn't grateful that I had you by my side. You were the one who got me to my appointments when I didn't want to go.
I know.
You were the one that held my hand when I didn't want to be there. And I know there are a lot of people who are doing this without somebody to hold their hand. And maybe it's a choice, and maybe it's not. I think the word cancer really scares most people. I know it scared the heck out of me. And
Me too.
it's hard sometimes to see how scary that is. We had friends that disappeared. We had friends that told us that they couldn't handle what I was going through, and they disappeared. And that was heartbreaking for me, but I realized that was about them and it wasn't about me. But I always had you. I had a friend who was going through treatment at the same time I was, whose husband left her, and because he couldn't handle it. So I am grateful every day that I have you in my life, that I had you when we were going through this, Not only because I was never alone, but you carried as much of this on your shoulders as I did. You felt as much pain as I did. You were as nauseous as I was. You were as bald as I was.
Well, yes.
And you were always there for me. And I really don't know that I can ever thank you enough for carrying me when I couldn't walk, and for really being my support when I really needed it the most.